Everyone knows the name Al Capone, the most feared gangster in American history. But almost nobody talks about the woman who slept beside him every night, knowing he could die, disappear, or be betrayed at any moment. Backhand index pointing right before the story continues. Subscribe to my channel for more true American gangster stories from the USA. Her name was Mary Josephine May Coughlin, and before the guns, blood, and headlines, she was just a quiet Irish Catholic girl from Brooklyn. Born in 1897, May grew up in a strict household where church came first, family came second, and trouble was something you stayed far away from. She was educated, polite, and known for her calm nature. Nobody would have guessed she'd become the wife of America's most notorious gangster. May met Alphonse Gabriel Capone in 1918. Al was 19. May was barely 21. He wasn't famous yet. Not powerful. Not rich. Just another street kid with sharp suits, a fast mouth, and dangerous connections. But there was something about Al Capone that drew people in. He was charming. Respectful to women. Soft-spoken around May. He treated her like she mattered, something most men at the time didn't bother doing. When May got pregnant, everything changed. In December 1918, May and Al got married quietly, without celebration. That same month, their son Albert Francis Sonny Capone was born. Al Capone was now a husband. A father. And that scared him more than any rival gangster ever would. New York was dangerous, but Chicago was opportunity. Johnny Torrio, Al's mentor, called him west. Prohibition was coming, and Chicago was about to become a gold mine for anyone willing to get their hands dirty. May followed Al to Chicago with Sonny in her arms. She didn't ask questions. She didn't complain. She believed marriage meant loyalty, even when it hurt. Chicago in the early 1920s was violent, corrupt, and exploding with illegal money. Bootlegging, speakeasies, gambling. Al Capone rose fast. Too fast. May watched her husband transform. The smiling young man she married became a crime boss surrounded by bodyguards, guns, and whispered conversations that stopped when she entered the room. She knew what Al was doing. But knowing and accepting are two different things. May chose silence. By 1925, Al Capone was a national figure. Newspapers called him public enemy number one. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre shocked America. 7 men murdered in cold blood. Everyone blamed Al, even though he was technically in Florida at the time. May read the headlines every morning. She saw her husband's face printed next to words like killer, gangster, monster. At home, Al was different. He kissed her goodnight. Played with Sonny. Asked about dinner. Worried about his son's grades. This split reality tore May apart. How could the man who tucked his son into bed be the same man accused of drowning Chicago in blood? The answer was simple and terrifying. He was both. Al Capone loved May. But he was not faithful. Mistresses were common. Known. Whispered about in elite circles. May heard the rumors, and sometimes saw proof. Al didn't even hide it well. Yet May stayed. Why? Because leaving a man like Al Capone wasn't just emotional, it was dangerous. Divorce was scandal. Weakness. An invitation for enemies to exploit. May chose survival. She endured humiliation in silence, maintaining the image of a respectable wife while her husband ruled Chicago's underworld. She protected Sonny from the truth as best she could. And that may have been her greatest mistake. Al Capone had a secret. Years earlier, before May, before marriage, before Chicago, Al had contracted syphilis, a disease he never properly treated. By the late 1920s, it began destroying him. Mood swings. Paranoia. Explosive rage. Confusion. May noticed first. She saw the changes in his eyes. His temper. His memory. Doctors whispered. Al ignored them. A gangster doesn't admit weakness. But May knew. She was watching her husband rot from the inside out. The government couldn't get Al Capone for murder, so they got him for tax evasion. In 1931, Al Capone was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. The King of Chicago was gone. Cameras flashed as he was led away. May stood strong in public. But alone, she broke. She now carried a name that opened no doors, only suspicion, fear, and judgment. She wrote Al letters. Visited when allowed. Protected Sonny from reporters. And waited. When Al Capone was released in 1939, he wasn't a gangster anymore. He was a shell. Syphilis had destroyed his mind. Doctors said he had the mentality of a child. May became his caretaker. She fed him. Bathed him. Spoke gently. Never complained. The most feared man in America now depended entirely on the woman who never abandoned him. The world thought Al Capone's story ended in prison. But May Capone's real story was just beginning. Because loving a gangster is one thing. Surviving after him is another.